Welcome back to In Pursuit 360. Today, we're going to be talking about leadership. And leadership is a very broad thing. We're going to apply it to law enforcement, but I'm going to also show you how it applies to many aspects of life and different career fields. So stand by. All right, here we go. So, welcome again to In Pursuit 360. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure to hit that thumbs up for me. And make some comments down below, and don't forget the bell for notifications for my next video. So today we're talking about leadership in general. It applies to law enforcement, and it applies to several positions or aspects of life. So when I was in the Air Force, my basic training squadron's motto was lead, follow, or get out of the way. And that kind of stuck with me over the years because if you think about it, it's really true. You need leaders, you need followers, and if you're not going to be either one, then get out of the way because all you're going to do is make things harder, right? So your basic law enforcement officer, one day out of field training, needs to be an immediate, effective leader, or at least needs to understand that they need to strive to be an effective leader. Every call that you go on, every domestic, every burglary call, every traffic stop you make, you need to be a leader in that scenario. So if you don't understand what makes a good leader, how to be a good leader, and how to influence people, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it as an officer because you've got to be a good leader. You've got to be a good leader when you're dealing with that domestic. You need to be able to listen to both sides of the story and make a determination. And how does it turn out? How, what's the best action to take for those people? So, a great leader is not measured by the power they yield. A great leader is measured by their ability to empower others. Right? Nice little quote. Thank John Maxwell. So when you go to that domestic, as a law enforcement officer leader, right? Leader in quotes, you have to be able to empower somebody. Now, I'm telling you, there are some men that got beat up by women, but there are mostly women that get beat up by men. But anyway, you've got to be able to empower that victim. How do you do that? Well, that's a leadership quality. It's a leadership quality to be able to try to make them understand that they don't need to be a victim. It's not fair. They don't deserve what they're getting. A lot of times people that are in domestic situations, after the significant other hits them, it's like, oh, I'm sorry, but if you wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't have hit you, right? That's wrong. That doesn't work. So you need to figure out a way. How do you empower that victim to take action, not to be the victim anymore? Because a lot of times you go and you lock the person up, the court date comes and goes, and next thing you know, they're back together, and 2-3 months later, you're back at the same house with the same problem. So as a leader, how do you empower that victim not to be a victim anymore? And same thing with a traffic stop. You make a traffic stop. You stop somebody for speeding. How do you, believe it or not, empower that driver to understand that by breaking the speed limit, they're endangering others, where they want to contribute to the society that they live in and, come back closer to following the speed limit, not driving so recklessly to help preserve the lives within the community? Are you that kind of a leader? Can you be that kind of a leader where you can pull somebody over for speeding and actually try to influence their behavior, which is what a leader does, right? By empowering them, by making them understand that their driving behavior is a contribution to the society around them. You think about other career fields. I mean, teachers. Teachers are leaders. They're leaders of little people. Right? It just so happens my wife's a kindergarten teacher of 34, well, she was a teacher for 34 years, spent her last 17, 18 years, 19 maybe, teaching kindergarten. But anyway, she just retired. but she's the classroom leader. She's the leader of those little people. She did 3rd grade. She's the leader of those little people. My son is a middle school English teacher. He's the leader in his classroom. And he's told me about some of the problems that he's run into. He teaches in one of, in a pretty poor county where the students don't have a lot of money. There's not a lot of family participation, that kind of thing. So he is most definitely the leader in that room. He's trying to influence these young people's lives. Leaders are everywhere. You don't have to be a supervisor to be a leader. But in order to be a leader, you have to understand that it's really about the people. It's about the people that are around you. It's the people that you're interacting with. So think about, let's just take law enforcement as an example. What are all the different positions you can be a leader? Well, just in the fact that you're an officer responding to calls and dealing with the public, bingo, you're a leader. Let's say you want to be a field training officer. Well, now that trainee, you're leading them, you're influencing them, you're empowering them. You are teaching them what you know and trying to get them to be as good or better than you are. Let's say you want to be an instructor at the academy. You're a leader. That's the same thing as a teacher, right? You're a leader of that entire class. You're influencing them for their entire career. This is what leaders do. Not everybody that can teach can actually lead. Well, now you've got a problem, right? Because you're not influencing. It's easy to teach somebody facts. Okay, the War of 1812 happened in 1812. Remember that. What influence is that? There is none. So you have to find a way through your teaching to influence your students or your future officer candidates, cadets, whatever, and empower them to do better, to be better. And this goes all the way up through the ranks. Okay, now you want to be a sergeant. Well, okay, now you're a supervisor. Now you really need to be a leader. So a supervisor doesn't guarantee that you're a leader. It just means you're a supervisor, right? So that's when we get into John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership. And the very first one I can tell you, and we'll get into more detail on this later, the first one is positional. You're given a title. Congratulations, you're a sergeant. That doesn't mean congratulations, you're a sergeant and a leader. That means congratulations, you're a sergeant supervisor. And now if you want to become a leader, now that's something you need to work at. You're not guaranteed to be a leader. Just because they give you some stripes or some bars on your collar does not make you a leader. What makes you a leader, again, is being able to empower other people and make them better, influence them, make them want to accomplish the mission or the goals of the agency or the goals of whatever business you're in, right? So supervisor does not equal leader. Supervisor equals manager, but not necessarily leader. So remember, a manager manages things, processes. A leader leads people, okay? So manager does paperwork, does logistics, manages resources, right? A leader guides the people and grows them and helps to guide them. All right, so we're going to jump around a little bit here. So there are several aspects, or there's so many things that go into leadership, so many characteristics and ideals and thoughts and mindsets, if you will, that go into leadership, that I'm going to create a series on leadership. So we'll call this the Introduction to Leadership, right? Because, I brought up John Maxwell and the 5 levels of leadership. Go search in YouTube John Maxwell's five levels of leadership, and nobody can explain them like he does. So there's that. You need to understand Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory. That has a lot to do with being an effective leader and understanding people. You need to know who you are. You need to know who your people are. So one thing that I was taught in a leadership class was the golden rule is a lie. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's a lie. It's wrong, because you may not want to be treated the same way that Joe wants to be treated, and Joe doesn't want to be treated like Jane wants to be treated, and Terry wants to be treated even more differently than all of them combined. So the golden rule should be, do unto others as they would have done unto them. So in every scenario you go into as a leader, so as an officer going to a call, a supervisor dealing with, let's say, a squad. I had 12 people assigned to me at the Pentagon. They were all individuals. They all had to be dealt with differently. I could go to one officer and be very direct. Hey, John, you messed this up. You know it needs to be done this way. All right, Sarge, got it. Now, if I went to Paul, I couldn't do that because then he'd get offended. He felt like I was attacking him. So with Paul, I got to say, hey, Paul, hey, you know that situation you ran into the other day where this, and this happened? Yeah. Can you think of any other way that maybe that could have gone better? Well, did you think about this policy? How does this policy apply to this scenario? You know what I mean? You got to kind of sugarcoat it and finesse it. And you may think, well, I'm the supervisor. I don't need to do that. Then you'll never be a leader. And I'm not saying that you have to bow down to these people, but you have to be able to understand what makes them tick. How do they best respond? Because remember, as a leader, you're supposed to be empowering your people. You're supposed to be influencing them to accomplish the mission in the best possible way, right? So if you just go around barking orders at people, some people will respond to that. They'll be fine with it. They're good with direct. But there are plenty of other people that can't stand it and think you're nothing but a power-hungry butthead, and they're going to fight against you, and they are not going to perform as well as they can. So you have to be able to step back, and first and foremost, you need to understand what kind of person you are. Are you a very direct person? And that's how you like to receive information, right? You're perfectly fine with somebody coming up to you saying, hey, you screwed this up. This is how you do it. Now fix it. And you're like, yep, got it. Thank you. Right? Or are you one of those ones that wants a little more of the finesse? Now, depending on how you are is going to depend on how hard it is or how much effort you have to put into how you deal with others. If you're very direct and you need somebody that wants some finessing, or somebody that wants facts, right? Not just an order, but they want the facts. Why are they doing this? Then you need to adapt yourself. And if you can't adapt yourself, then maybe that's not a position for you, because you will never get 100% effort out of your folks if you're not willing to take that time to figure out what makes them tick and how to get them to best perform. That really goes back into that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Getting them all the way up to self-actualization. Again, we'll get into that. That'll be a whole nother video. So there you go. That's your introduction to leadership, basically. You really need to understand what leadership is. Leadership is empowering others or influencing others to obtain a goal or to accomplish a mission with the people that you're leading giving max effort, right? And so in order to do that, you have to empower them, you have to influence them to do better. So again, we'll do a series on this. This is just kind of the introduction. This kind of skims over the top of everything, but at least gives you a taste for how it applies to everything, whether you are a brand new officer out on the street on your own, or if you are going out for field training officer or instructor or sergeant or first sergeant or lieutenant, whether you are a civilian and maybe you're in private security and you put in for a supervisor's job there, or you want to be an instructor in private security, or if you have nothing to do with law enforcement and you're working for, take your pick, Home Depot, and you want to be a department supervisor. It's all dealing with people. even if you just work in a department and you're dealing with customers, you're dealing with people, you're leading them. When they're asking you questions, you're influencing and leading them. So leadership is everywhere. It's all around us. It's in everything we do every single day. So that's it for today. Don't forget, please hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more videos. Hit that bell. Make sure that you know when my next video is coming out, especially in the leadership series. And smash that like button for me. Add some comments down below. Let me know some other content you'd like to see. Let me know what you think of this video, and we'll go from there. Y'all have a good one, and be safe out there.